What's going on, YouTube? It's me again, back again with another live stream. And today, this live stream is inspired by, I suppose, some statistics and data that I was searching through today, which I was going to do a pre-recorded on this, but you know what? When I was looking at the data, when I was looking at all the statistics in regards to producing this which content, I thought, you know what? Let me do a live stream instead, because what I saw in the statistics, and which I'm going to share with you all today, was nothing short of frightening, and which inspires the title of this video, that we as Black people are losing. We are at the bottom of society. Yes, we are. I know there's been race reports and commissions that have been set up and has been conducted over the last few weeks, in which a lot of things have been said. But you know what? I don't care about all of that. I want to discuss the facts. I want to discuss what is actually happening to us as a people on these shores, because this is what doesn't get discussed often enough. This is what we don't see. And I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it. I mean, I was going to do pre-recorded, but you know what? I thought, forget it, because this needs to be said live on the air, because at the end of the day, we need intervention, and I'm here to provide it. We need an intervention when it comes to basically the whole, from the top to the bottom. There is not one place in society where we operate in where we don't need some sort of upheaval. And here's the thing. I am nowhere near in this live stream. I'm going to repeat this again throughout the live stream. I am nowhere near going to blame anything that's happened to us at the feet of the wider society, i.e. white people. No. This is where we as a people now need to stand up. This is where we as a people now are going to have to pull our fingers out, change our culture, change our ways, and be the change that we want to be. Because we all talk about we want to be represented in society. We all talk about we want to be represented in all these other areas of aspects of life. But I'm like this. In order to do that, what we need to do is prioritize. We need to change our strategy. We need to make sure that we are concentrating on the things that matter. Because I'm going to show you exactly how each of steps that have taken place where we've completely failed have had a domino effect into where we are right now today as Black in Britain. What's up, Vincent? Thanks for joining. Let me know if the sound is good. I don't know if you heard my monologue, but I was going to do a pre-record on this one, but I thought I couldn't do a pre-record on this. I have to go live because I have to get this off my chest. When I do pre-record, it's edited, it's kind of scripted, and it's all looking a bit more professional. But no, forget that. This has to be raw. This has to be said from the heart, because this needs to be done. We need to be able to compete in this world. This is what we need to do. All other races, and I'm going to show you today, or tonight, shall I say, have shown that they're willing to compete in many aspects of our life. But I don't know what we're doing if we are competing, because we are at the bottom in every single aspect of society. So I do not know what is going on. So I'm going to break it down right today as to where we are, what I believe we need to do, because there needs to be change. There needs to be change in what we're doing. There needs to be change in strategy, focus. We need to focus on the important things and forget about the unimportant things. Yeah, no worries, Vincent. I mean, you can catch it on the playback. I'm definitely going to either, depending on how long the live stream is, I'll probably cut this up into chunks just to get off what I'm looking to get across. But no, that's not a problem at all. By all means, if you need to dip, just dip. But thanks for being here. But so where do we start? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen to start right from the beginning to see exactly how it starts in terms of why we are at the bottom, because there's a genesis to this. There's a genesis to how we as a group of people, Black Brits in this country, have been operating for so long, which doesn't get broken down half often enough. I barely hear people bring out the statistics. I hear rhetoric. I hear this. I think I heard a couple of people say it, but very rare do I hear people break this down. And this needs to be broken down, because you know what? It is what it is. Now, I'm going to say this. I used to be of the opinion that, you know what, there may be things that we can't change. Maybe the reason why we're in a situation is not because of lack of trying, but maybe there's something intrinsic in our DNA which is stopping us from getting to the top. But you know what? After some careful reflection, I thought, fuck that. Because when I look at history between groups, racial groups, ethnic groups, cultural groups, whatever you want to call it, there was always a genesis before they became great. If you look at the British Empire, before the British became the biggest and greatest empire the world has ever seen, before that, they were known as a slave nation. They were known as someone who's up to doing no good. They were up to doing nothing. Before the Romans conquered Britain, or should I say England, then England to Scotland and so on, and to Ireland, and then became Great Britain, etc., etc. But before that happened, Great Britain, England, Scotland, Ireland were doing absolutely nothing. So I do believe we can evolve, because human beings can evolve. We can change if only we accept what we need to do, which is evolve, adapt, and change to the modern world in society. We need to put away a lot of victimization, put away all this BS culture that we participate, which clearly affects our thinking patterns, because we are not thinking where we need to think. We're not moving strategically. We're not thinking intelligently. We need more intelligent people to basically give us a plan, a guideline. But the problem is with this is going to require work, which is why I titled this video, the second half of the title, We Can't Be Afraid to Compete. Because to compete, and if you look at the thumbnail of this video, it's the GB relay sprinters, mixed group, male and female, in order to get to that position where they won gold medal. You know what they had to do? They had to work hard, they had to discipline, they had to be strategically focused, they had to, all the little inches, all the little tenths of a second that they had to try and gain, they were focused on the small gains in order to get to the big gain, which is what, for most Olympic athletes, gold medal. And that's what I'm talking about right now, hitting the gold medal. It's no good enough just being, you know, average or pass or whatever it is, what you think you made good. No. We need to make sure that we hit for that gold medal, because that's where it counts. This is where we get measured on. Societies and civilizations are not measured on average. They're measured on the best. This is why I'm going to say it. When we always talk about black culture and black history, we're like, oh, how can we not mention? Do you know the reason why? In truth, because when you compare our civilizations to European, East Asian, South Asian civilizations, do you know what? We do not compete on the same level. And that's fine right now. Again, like I said, everything has a genesis. Everything has an adaptation. Everything has an evolution. But that's just like pure facts. So when we go into history, we want to be mentioned as part of the greats. Cool. I have absolutely no problem with that. We need to compete now. We need to make sure that we're on the forefront. We need to do things what have made winners win. And that's what I'm talking about today. So let's get into this. So what I'm going to do right now is share my screen, because again, I have to absolutely bring out the reasons and go through exactly what has taken place, which has led us to this part. So let's get into this. Now, where are we? Here we go. So the screen in front of you right now, we're starting at A levels, because when it comes to a people, the foundation of everything is education. Yes, it is. I know that seems to be a byword nowadays in this current culture, but you know what? Yes. Forget what you've heard. Forget this entrepreneurship bullshit that you've been hearing. Education is the basic foundation for every civilization and every group to succeed. Now, granted, it's not the only way, and I have to preface this. It's not the only way, but don't get it confused. Don't listen to these Instagrammers. Don't listen to these YouTubers on social media telling you about, oh, I'm a boss, I'm this, I'm that, because I'm going to get into that as well. But don't get confused. Your foundation, as every single boy and girl, male and female, is your education. And look at these stats. Come starting over A levels, because GCSEs, let's be honest, they've been changed, contorted, twisted from A star to C, from 0 to 9, from O level to GCSE. Right now, it holds no weight. But A levels is a whole different animal and a whole different beast. And right now, as I've been speaking, you've probably been looking at the statistics that I've looked at, and I was completely shocked. You know the reason why? Because I thought, you know what? Maybe we're not that bad, but this statistic tells us everything. Now, this breakdown tells us the percentage of students getting at least 3 A grades at A level. Now, why have I picked this statistic? Again, we want to measure people on the best. Forget average, we measure people on the best, because the people who get the best grades in A levels are naturally going to be the best people who get to the top universities. They're the ones who are likely to be the go-getters, disciplined, hardworking. They're likely to be the ones who are going to be at least doing something well in society. I know I'm generalizing, and I know that's not always true. But again, I'm talking about competing at the highest level, people. I'm not talking about being average. And what do we see here? We see that we're not even average. We're less than average. And let's break this down. So look at Asians. They get 18.5% of them, and it's broken down by Bangladeshi, Indian, Pakistani, and Asian other. Now, clearly, we have groups which outperform other groups. Indians outperform in all the Asian categories. Pakistanis do the worst in this group. But let's look about people. Let's get to it. Look at what we're doing. 12% as a whole, split between African, Caribbean, and other. 12%. That is the lowest. The lowest out of all the groups. All the groups. So when I ever hear this diaspora crap about listen. I'm just here to provide you the statistics. You can do what you want with this, but look at the statistics. We are not performing at the highest level in the same rate as other racial groups. There's just no getting around this. And this was done between 2019 to 2020. So this is very recent. So we can't blame systematic oppression. I know we always get brought up, but I'm not having on that BS. That's complete BS. That statistic is worrying. Every other group, look at Chinese. This is why I'm not falling for this white supremacy BS, because if you look at other non-white groups, they not only do they outperform whites, but they piss on them. Look at Chinese. 37% of Chinese students achieve at least 3 A grades at A level. 37%. You look at whites, 20.4%. White people in their own countries don't do as well as Chinese. White people in their own countries don't even do well as Indians, whatever subcategory you look at. Listen, I don't know how I want to tell you this. This has got nothing to do with white supremacy. This is everything to do with what we need to do as a people to evolve and compete. There's no getting around it. No getting around it. So when you look at the statistic, how do you come to the conclusion other than there's something wrong, what we need to do, how we need to discipline ourselves to make sure that we are not pulling up the rear? Because in the relay race, we are staunch last. Staunch last. You have even gypsies, Romans performing better than us. I mean, gypsies, Romans. You know what? These guys are like pretty much like travelers. I know we have Irish travelers here, but they're like travelers. They're doing better than us as a racial group who have been here since the 50s, the 60s, depending on where you got, when you got here. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And what does that mean? Because at the end of the day, once you get your A levels, what's the next logical step? The next logical step is going to university. And again, if you get these A grades at A level, you're likely going to go to a better university, because we always complain about there are no black students at Oxford, there are no black students in Cambridge, in Durham, the red brick universities. Well, this is the reason why. Because these universities have a standard that needs to be met. It's not no average. It's not just a pass. It's the best. Therefore, if that is the case, and this is what we can see here, who do you think racially is going to make up these universities? It's not going to be us. We are not going to be represented in these seats of power, in these places of power, if we don't start with the foundation of the basics, education. And this is how it starts. And what's the next step after A level? Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's not as if you have to get A grades to get to university. You can go to university with quite some interesting grades. I'm not going to lie to you. But let's go to university. Let's see what happens after we get that fact. Because you know what? For all we know, it could just be the A-level system, whatever it may be. But once you get to university, once you're an adult, once you've left the nest, because usually people go to study either internationally, they study in different cities, they study in different places. So maybe that's what needed to become an adult so we can do better for ourselves. So let's take a look at ourselves when we go into the degree results. Now, this statistic that you see on the screen, similar to the first statistic, split by ethnicity. Now, this gives us the percentage of how each racial group performs once they complete their undergraduate degree. So again, follow the steps. You go from GCSE to A level. Typically from A level, you go to university. That's what most people do. I know people can circumvent the steps, but follow me here. This is usually the standard, the modus operandi. This is what normally people go through. Now, this is the undergraduate situation. Now, what can you see on the screen? Here's what you see. When it comes to, again, we have to go to first class honors because that is the A grade level. This is where, again, it separates the wheat from the chaff. The cream rises to the top. And what do you see here? Here's what you see. You see white people getting the most first class honors at 31.5%, followed by the mixed group. Now, the mixed group, I'll be honest with yourself, I can't exclude this because mixed is a combination of a few things. So it's not as specific, but we'll go with it anyway, the mixed group. I'm going to exclude other because, again, other is even worse. But then you have Asians with 23.0%. Then we have us pulling in the rear again. You see how this seems to have a sort of a common theme? How when it comes to A levels, we pull in the rear. And now when it comes to undergraduate degrees and how our first class honors, we come in the rear. But it gets better. It gets better because when we go down to upper second class and lower second or third class, guess what happens? The pendulum swings and we start to actually take the lead. But here's the thing. That's not what we want, because when we get to this lower second or third, we are actually the most represented in this sort of group. So our degrees that we get, let's be honest, they're very fortunate degrees. And again, when you go to employment, this is another thing that people don't tell you. A lot of times it's not just what degree you get or the degree you get, but what classification of degree you get. Because I was always told, get a degree, get a degree, get a degree. But like all things, there's levels to this and there's levels to everything. What type of degree do you get? Because again, it shows the aptitude of the candidate. It shows the likelihood of that person going to perform either in their task, in their job, but it just shows the intellectual ability. So right now, we need to restructure ourselves and think about how do we make sure that we compete at the highest level? Because right now, we are not competing at the highest level, as it's shown with this undergraduate degree. Again, the time period from August 18 to 2019. This is the latest one that has been produced, all on the ONS database. This is a UK governmental statistical database where you can get so many information about what's going on in our lives. It's unbelievable. But the fact remains is we are not doing well in the areas of life that we need to do in. And the first area is education. We're just not doing it. And here's the thing about education. Even though people, again, seem to want to just sort of disconnect the two because we're living in this technological age where apparently now, because we're in a technological age, it doesn't matter about these things. Yes, it does. Because the average person, forget that. The above average person who makes Facebook, you know what's enough with, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. He was a Harvard student. He dropped out, but he was at Harvard. So in order to get to Harvard, what he had to do? He had to be intelligent. We are falling for this lie where about this entrepreneurship where you don't have to be intelligent to come up with £1 billion company. If you look at all the people who found these companies, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, these people aren't just some dropout. It's very rare. A lot of these people dropped out after, let's be honest, being very intelligent, but they just seem to find a lane. So we have to get out of this ideology that, you know what, we're meant to be this boss, meant to be this boss bitch, no one's kind of all the horse crap. Because let's be honest, majority of us, our best shot in life, and this is what other groups have realized, starts with education and then it goes from there. You're not going to have dumbasses creating £1 billion industries. I'm sorry, you're just not. You're just not. You have intelligent people, whether it be academically intelligent or whether it be some other social intelligence, but usually intelligent people are the ones who create these industries that we seem to fawn after. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all these £1 billion industries that we fawn over. These are created not by dumb people, smart people, or at least hardworking people want to compete. So we have to bear that in mind when we're looking at the statistics. Let's see what's going on here. All right. Okay, we've got a few people in chat. Make sure everyone likes the video. What's up, Space Cowboy? How's it going? Listen, what I'm going to say is this, and I'm going to repeat because I don't know whether you were in on the stream earlier, but every single race starts off somewhere. And what we need to understand is, look, forget the past. What can we do to make sure in the future that we can actually change the narrative? Because every empire, before it was the great empire, whether it be the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the American Empire, they all were nothing before they were something. So all I'm saying is maybe we just need to realize where the hell we are and understand what we need to do. And by bringing the statistics and by laying this down piece by piece, brick by brick, we can finally understand what we need to do to succeed in life. Because all the tools in this day and age is there for us. We just need to use it, and we need to make sure that we actually can, utilize it. So this is the issue. The issue is we're just not telling the people what we need to know, because unfortunately, getting this information or say going on this path is hard work. You have to compete. It's hard work. Like any athlete, it's hard work. What's up, Falcon Black? How's it going? Yeah, degrees in medium. And you know what the thing is? I was trying to get some information in regards to what are people actually studying, but I couldn't get that information because, as far as I'm concerned, if you're not studying some sort of STEM or some sort of niche, I don't care what you're studying. It's irrelevant right now. You shouldn't be studying any of that stuff unless it's some sort of STEM subject, some sort of subject which you know is going to be maybe what's going to pay well, which you just have to get a degree. Unless it's something like that, I don't think you should be going to the university at all. It's just a waste of time, a waste of money. Go into a trade or something else like that, but let's not kid ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. It's just unbelievable. But big up to everyone in the chat. Please like the video on your way here. So let's get back into this. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give you that word. Again, this is an intervention. This is an intervention. So this ain't gonna be nice. This ain't gonna be pretty. But this is just the bare bone facts. We need change. We just need change, right? So we've got past the education situation. So this is normally the last stage for most people in terms of their education. This is where most people say, you know what, fuck this. I'm done with education. I've been like, maybe 25 years of my life. It feels like, purely education. And now I'm just sick of it. And now I want to spread my wings. I need to get a job. I want to get some money. Cool. I got you that. But what happens once you crystallize the fact that we're behind the A levels, behind the undergraduate degree results in comparison to other racial groups? What does that mean? Where do we go to when it comes to our employment? Where do we end up in the employment scene? Well, let's get to it because I got the stats for you. I've got it all broken down for you. Don't you worry about it. And this is another statistics. I'm going to bore you with statistics to death, but I don't care. This is where we are as a people, ethnicity broken down by the type of occupation. Now it's grouped up into the type of occupations as they've deemed fit. It goes from the most senior position, where it goes managers, directors, and senior officials, top left here, all the way down to what's called elementary. And as you can imagine, the requirement to be a manager, director, senior official is a lot higher than if you go all the way down past the skilled trades, past the all the way down to elementary. So you can kind of understand what kind of people need to be in these roles. So again, follow the bouncing ball. It all has a knock-on effect like a domino. Now, we always complain about where we are in senior positions, and that is true. And look at the statistics again. Out of all the ethnic groups, where the hell are we? We are plumb last. 5%. 5%. Now, I don't know about you, but that's goddamn shocking. I mean, I thought it'd be a little bit high. I ain't gonna lie. With all this diversity quotas, with all the BS that's been taking place. Now, granted, this is done in 2018. So when it updates next, I'm hoping to see a change. But 2018 ain't long ago. What, 2 years, depending on when this data was taken? 5%. 5%. Look at all the rest of the groups. Think about it. We're less than the average. The average is 11%. 8%, 9%. 5%, blacks 5, mixed 9, white 11, white British 11, white other 10, 5%. 5% of us are in the most top positions. And this is why we don't see ourselves represented in their positions of power. Because again, we just aren't there. Now, as to why that is, I mean, I have some anecdotal experience where here a lot of black people, I will be honest, they get disenfranchised because they don't get seen for promotions. And unfortunately, when you get to this stage, it's less about what you know, but who you know. I will agree. So I'm going to caveat this and say, in my workplace, I know a lot of times it's done by not necessarily the formal channels of you going for an interview and you taking it. So I will definitely concede that point. However, again, if you're going to try and use that, it's all white male faces, then I got to point to the fact of, well, Asians and Indians 11%, which are doing the exact same thing as white people. So it can't all be about white and being male, surely. But anyway, I digress. And what I'm going to do, because again, you go into the next group down, professionals 21%, we seem to be well represented here, but Indians seem to be hella represented in professionals. I can imagine with the IT groups, we keep going down, and we are most represented in caring, leisure, and other services out of any other groups. Now, that's a lot of social work. That's a lot of charitable type of work, but it doesn't pay the most. Whereas here, this is where the money is made. This is where we really want to be seen represented, because this is where decisions can be made. This is where we see ourselves represented in all these areas of expertise and areas of business that we're really, really crowing about, which I would think that we want to be at. Whereas what we are represented, if you look at these groups, is in lesser roles. And again, it ties back into what we've been doing as a people. To be professional, it doesn't require much education. It seems to be where most people seem to lie. But still, we are represented in some of the areas of expertise. I'm like, listen, I have nothing against people who do this type of work. Nothing against them. Caring, leisure, other services, a lot of social work. I know a lot of black social workers, carers, nurses, all that kind of other stuff. So I have nothing against that at all. Big up to yourselves. But I'm just saying, especially as black men, we need to look for the higher positions, particularly the manager, directors, and senior officials. This is where we need to be at. This is where we need to be at. Unfortunately, where we are mostly represented is in the ones which require little to no education, elementary. This is the type of occupation where you don't need much education. You don't need much history or much background. It's very rudimentary type of work. And this is what is called elementary. Again, it goes from less likely the highest top paid jobs, which normally require the most amount of education here, to the converse, the last, which you don't need as much job skill, job experience, much degrees, and therefore the pays are going to be represented of that. And look where we are as well. We are the most represented in this group, in this category. Again, it may not be by that much, but it's still not the point. We are topsy-turvy people. We're going the wrong way around. There needs to be an intervention about this, because this is just bullshit. And again, follow the board again. We don't do well in our A levels at the top. We don't do well in our undergraduate degrees. And in employment, we're not doing as well. There's no coincidence why we pull up the rear when it comes to other things like our financial situation and where we live in. And I'm going to go into that right now. We are right at the bottom where we do not need to be. So this is just absolutely mad. Yep. Space Cowboys, absolutely. Social work, pay nothing. Tech, finance, medicine, engineering. That's where the money is. We don't have discipline. And I agree. Some of us have it. But not all of us have it in the right spaces. And not enough of us have it enough for us to really make an impact. Because that's what we want to do. And people get confused by this, excuse me, when we say, oh yeah, but we only make up about 3% of the population. I say, forget the percentage of the numbers. It's strength in numbers. You look at the minority has always ruled the majority in society throughout history. Don't be fooled by the numbers. Never be fooled by the numbers. It's all about the strength in those numbers. You look at Jews. Jews have dominated societies throughout history wherever they've gone because they've understood exactly what's required in order to keep themselves at the top. I mean, I think I said this beforehand that in another live stream that Jews, again, you don't see them, massively represented in so many areas, but where they are is powerful. It's niche areas, but it's powerful areas because they understand exactly how things are run and they understand how society works. And they understand, look, don't worry about some industries, worry about these industries, dominate these industries, get yourself involved in here, because once you do that, you may be small in numbers, but you have more weight behind those numbers. You just take a look at what happened when Wiley dissed the Jews, how quick the Jews came together as a people and they got them off. Why? Not because they were outspoken and they were outraged, because black people get outraged and outspoken, but because they had the people in the necessary power positions to be able to enact change. Because what's what happened if no one did anything once the Jews said what they said, when everyone comes at the Jews, make some anti-Semitic marks? They had the power, the cachet, and they had the people to be able to say, you know what? If you don't do something about this, we will now take action, which normally in that regard is talk about funding. It talks about political capital, whatever capital it may be. Jews have it. We don't have the capital other than we can scream the loud at the top of our mouth. I'm like, listen, once that's gone, where does that leave us? Right back where we need to be. And that's what we need to focus on. It's not about numbers per se. It's about strength in those numbers. Yeah, absolutely, Vincent. I mean, I mean, this you need to say it's to the cows come home. We need to go into careers like the STEM field, law enforcement, legal field, and even education, like being a professor. We need to be better represented in these fields. But these are choices. I'm not putting it at the feet of any other race of people, white men, all this kind of stuff. It's all about what we're doing as choices. No one forces us to go to university to take that particular degree. No one forced it. No white person put a gun to your head and said, you must fail at school. I'm pretty sure no white person put a gun to your head and said, you must not listen. No white person put a gun to my head, at least, and said, you have to go to this university or whatever. It's all a direct outcome of my choices, good, bad, or indifferent. This is how we end up. A lot of these things we have to realize are down to our choices. And we just have to make better choices, smarter choices. Once we realize that we have the power in our hands, I'm telling you, man, a lot of things can change very quickly. Very, very, very quickly. Let's get back into this. So again, this is our occupation. And one thing which I wanted to also bring out, because again, we're in the age of the entrepreneurship, aren't we? We're in the age of everyone's self-employed. We're in the age of I'm a boss. We're in the age of everyone's doing something. All right, cool. Let's see what I can try and get, because I know you niggas lie. I know these niggas lie. I know you lie. So I brought up this statistic. It's a self-employment statistic. Now, I got to caveat this again, because for certain areas, it won't show up on this data. If you're technically classed as self-employed, so whether you're like a contractor, you're trying to have your own business for yourselves, a sole trader, director for your own company, you should be, if you're doing everything by the books, classed as being self-employed. So I'm like this, okay, cool. I should see a lot of boss niggas on this chart. I should see them represented, because if you're not represented in these employments, when it comes to the manager, directors, then you guys must be starting your own motherfucking business. That's what I must assume. That's what my logical head, my analytical brain is screaming to my head. You must be. But let's look at the numbers, because again, the numbers tell a motherfucking different story, which means you guys are liars. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the stats. I'm just going to get to this table right now. Now, this table breaks it down. Anyone over the age of 16 who is classed as being self-employed. Again, split it up by the ethnicity groups. Now, what I've done is I've ranked it by the top percentage being at the top, lower at the bottom. And shock horror, what the fuck do you see? Yes, that's right. We are in the rear when it comes to, at least when it comes to classifying ourselves as self-employed. Again, I already hear the arguments about, you may not be classed as self-employed, whatever. But by the books, by the stats, what we can count, what we know, we are the least represented group when it comes to being self-employed, which means a director of a company, in our own business, sole trade, whatever you want to classify as contractor, because contractors, they are self-employed and, they don't get sickness pay, but they're self-employed, all that kind of good stuff. And the thing is, I was looking at this and I saw the Pakistani/Bangladeshi at the top, and I thought, you know what? That resonates a lot with some of the Asian boys that I used to roll with when I was at school, and how every single time the conversation used to roll around with a lot of these Asian boys, the first thing they used to talk about, it was always business. Always business. Because if you look at Asian communities, they're very business-minded people, particularly the males. Even my barber was saying is like, if he had brothers, because he had all sisters, but he was telling me if he had all brothers, he would be getting business like crazy. His barbershops, he would be doing businesses. That's what they always seem to focus on. Hence why I see a lot of these, the Pakistani, Bangladeshi at the top, because they are very, very self-employed and very, very business orientated. Now, I bet you're thinking about Indians, they're right here, but what do we know about Indians? Indians seem to be slightly different. They seem to be more education and career driven. Doctors, they seem to get into the IT field. So they're more employed, which means that their self-employment rates are lower. Whereas conversely, the Pakistanis, they may not be in those fields, but they're more into business. Whereas us, we can't even make that distinction. We can't even make that distinction. We are not in the areas where we want to be, and we're certainly not as self-employed as I thought we would be. I mean, at least I thought I would be somewhere halfway between. At least give me that. Nope. Plumb last. We are behind in every single facet of our life so far. You see what this leads to? This leads to all the things which poverty, this leads to or the, I suppose, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy now where, oh, we can't do anything. But listen, it all starts with the foundation. This is why every single house needs a good foundation. Otherwise, whatever you put on the top, it ain't going to make a difference because it's going to come crumbling down. And once you understand what the issue is and how it all plays a role, like a domino effect, this is where we get to. So for all you guys talking about being a boss, being self-employed, man, cut that BS. Bun it. Cut that BS. This is not what we're seeing right now based on what we are seeing from the stats. And again, this is from 2011 to 2018. And I know this whole entrepreneurship has not been the last 2 years. This has been going on for a long, long, long time. So miss me that BS. I mean, look at this. In 2011, 8.2%. That's fucking shocking. Now we've gone up to 11.2%, but still, it's madness. It's madness. And again, yeah, I think the order is the average. We're so behind the average. It's not even believable. I mean, at least give me something to go off, people. At least give me something to go off. But right now, we're just right in the tail end. We're just right in the tail end. We need intervention right now, and it's just criminal. And again, and what does it all lead to? Because again, we talk about education, which leads to a job, and then job ultimately. Because here's the point about a job: whatever kind of job you have, whatever qualification you have, whatever sort of title you have, at the end point, we care about one thing: money. That's all we care about at the end of the day: money. Where are the fields that give us the most amount of money? What are these fields, and what does that end into? Well, I'm glad you asked, because here's the next one. This is household income. Household income. And what this table shows here, again, split by ethnicity, is this shows us the households, and it's done by weekly income bands. So the far left is the average weekly household income up to the £100. So these are the very low earners. And again, it goes from 100 to 200 and so on and so on and so on. As you can imagine, the low earners will be in this one, and then the top earners will be in that one. So if you earn over £1,000 or above a week, your household is pretty much cast over. You're in the very, very like top, I want to say 10% of society. If your household is earning that kind of money, 1,000 or above a week, 4K, actually not that much, but that's what it's signifying. These are the higher bands, and therefore you want to be represented in the higher group. You do not want to be represented in the lower group. And what's happened here is all these rows, single rows, up to 100% of each ethnic group. And what you want to see is, where are we most represented at? Where is, and how does that compare to every ethnic group? And again, when we look at our ethnicity groups, we seem to be, in terms of earners, let me go to the highest one again, because again, I'm always on about first place now. Forget all the rest of the places. First place, where are we at? Again, Indians seem to have the most cash out of any household, followed by white, other Asian, or Chinese, all the way down here when we see where we pull up in the rear. Again, this is how it all happens. It all takes place from the first get-go. Education, our results, employment, household income. This is how we get relegated into poverty. I know it's not fashionable to say this, but this is where education really fucking matters. Because again, the average person isn't going to be, I'm just going to be honest with you, Jeff Bezos. The average person is not going to be Mark Zuckerberg. The average person is not going to win the lottery. The average person is not going to be some dumb idiot stumbling across a great idea and setting up his family for the rest of his life. That's not how this shit works. Most people in life will get a degree, get a job, have that job for how many years that they're in that job or in that field, they move jobs, whatever it is. But that's the main thing. Most people are going to be working what's quote unquote the 9-to-5 lifestyle, maybe 8 to 4 nowadays, but whatever it is, most people are going to be working a job. Now, people have other secondary incomes, but I'm telling you, most people, on average, their main income will be a 9 to 5. So you need to make sure that 9 to 5 is paying the motherfucking bills. Because if it can't even do that, you got bigger issues to worry about than do some side hustle. And what do we see? Our household income is at the low. Again, we're pulling up in the rear in the statistical categories that matter the most. That matter the most. Again, this is how it all plays into a part. And what happens once you have a household income that you can't, if you have a low household income? What does that mean in terms of your prospect of owning a house? When it comes to certain areas that you want to move to, when it comes to supporting your family, when it comes to all these things which are just intrinsically based. Because here's the thing. People always used to say this phrase, money doesn't buy happiness. Bullshit. Bullshit. I'm going to tell you something right now. I have never been more happier when I know that all my bills are paid and I've got extra money in my pocket. I don't know about anyone else. Let me know in the comment section whether it's just me. I have never been happier when I'm in a situation, particularly after payday comes and I got my salary and I paid everything off and I got some extra bit of disposable income to do whatever the hell I want to do. In that moment, at least until it goes to the next month, I have never been happier. Now, granted, that doesn't mean it's everything, but God damn it, that's at least for most people 75% of happiness. Know the reason why? Once you have enough finances, you can afford all the bullshit that used to be you had to worry about. Home, what house you're living in, the rent that you need to pay, the bills that you need to pay, shoes, clothes, food, all these kind of things can all be alleviated with money. This is what happens. Most people who are broke are miserable. I'm telling you. That's why people care about it. Again, is it everything? No. I'm going to put health as up there as a very, 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 very strong category. But I'm telling you, I'm sorry. Money does matter. Money matters in his life. I don't care what anyone says. So I don't know what it is. We need to sort ourselves. We need to fix up. But let's go on here. So let's see what people are saying. So we're base thinkers. I mean, yeah, there needs to be another show about our culture and how it's creating this baseline culture of just it's feeding into these stats. Let's just say that it's feeding into these stats. Self-fulfilling prophecy. We can get out of the cycle, but we need to absolutely make sure that we do the right things. We focus on Tupac versus Biggie. Yeah, some bullshit wars. Man, I'm telling you, all the bullshit that happens, it's just madness. It's just madness. Stop breeding, end the cycle of poverty. That's definitely one way to think about it. That's definitely one way. But I suppose but the thing is though, other ethnic groups, they do build families, but they do it in the right way. Because that's another thing. It may not be stop breeding. It's just do it the right way around. In terms of make sure that people are at least mentally stable, a little bit financially stable, because you may not be perfectly financially stable when you get married, depending on what age you are, but at least have that ambition, that drive, at least in the direction that you want to go, where you know it's going to at least work for the best that you can do. So it may not be necessarily stop breeding, but it's definitely stop breeding with the wrong person. I'll definitely tell you that. It's just mad. But yeah, let's get back into this. But again, so that's household income. And then ultimately, and last thing I kind of want to touch on is just home ownership, because most people in life, they want to own a home. We all want to own a home. Who doesn't? I mean, maybe if you're in an urban area, urban city, you may want to own a flat, but everyone wants to own their own property. I think when it comes to this statistic here, it says home, but let's just substitute home for property. So whatever that looks like, whether it's a apartment, a flat, a house, whatever it may be, however you want to do it in these days, as long as you own it, that's an asset that you own. That's something that you can put leverage on. It's liquid. It's something that you can finance on, or do whatever you need to do to try and flip it. This is what happens when you own your own home. Now we can discuss the merits of whether it should be, mortgaged or paid outright. I mean, I have my own individual beliefs on that. I don't think for most homes nowadays to try and buy it outright, you're going to be waiting the rest of your life. So I do believe in the mortgage when it comes to houses. I know some people don't believe in debt one iota, and I praise it. I'm trying to be in that lifestyle, but there's certain things where I'm like, whoa, houses, man, they're running 500K plus. Some of these houses are. You need a mortgage in my mind. But anyway, I digress. But again, this is a house split by ethnicity. Again, one of my favorite statistics. And again, what are we seeing right now when it comes to the groups? Again, we are in the rear now. It's split again by they're the lowest homeowners outside of Arabs. Arabs, but it's just crazy. And I don't know whether it's because maybe Vincent in the chat set up shop here because they want to go back to the motherland. Is that what it is? I don't know. Whereas Caribbeans are likely to be more trying to stay here. But either which way you spin it, 20% for Africans, 40% for Caribbeans. Out of all the groups outside of the mix, but even the mixed, it's the mixed white Black Africans, the mixed white, Black Caribbean, pretty much. I know you got white over here, but if you look at the actual main ethnic groups, we are pulling in the rear again. All these things is because we don't have enough capital, because we don't have, or not in the right positions, because we've not got the right grades, because we're not making the right decisions. This is all having this domino effect as to why we are behind, which is why we don't seem to own these homes, which is why, guess what happens? They get gentrified because guess what? Other groups, they can flip their money and they say, you know, this area ain't so bad. I know, you niggas are here, but this area ain't so bad. So we're going to come in the area. You guys can't be able to afford to stay there. And then guess what's going to happen? That area that you want now becomes a gentrified area and it now becomes a busting and thriving area. Come in and stay because now it's known as a thriving area. The houses aren't too bad. The crime rate is down. We need to talk about that as well. All of these things, people, all these things, all inside of our control. These are all things that we can help. This is all down to our individual choices. And this is kind of what I want to get to today, man. This is all down to our foundation of what we need to do in society. I'm sorry to tell you that. Making sure that we don't have kids before the age of flipping. What do we blame that to? It could not. Is that down to white supremacy? That Indians, if white supremacy was meant to be so, the link in the chat. Let me know if you can still hear me. Let me know if you can still hear me. I've ever been. All right, let me know if you can still hear me. I don't know whether the stream's gone off. I'm looking at the stream in another window, and it seems to be going all Ari. I don't know, but yeah, let me know if you want to come up on stream, if you want to have a conversation about these statistics and what you've seen, what you've not. If you are new to the stream, by all means, please like the stream, share the stream, subscribe if you are new. But by all means, this is what I want to get off my chest, that we are currently losing as a group of people, as a race of people. And it's time that, we face up to these facts, and let's not try and blame everyone else. Let's just try and, the revolution starts now, effectively. We have to start somewhere. We have to make sure that, again, we are always evolving, always adapting. The problem I have right now as a people is that we're trying to blame everyone else for our own ills. And what we're doing in the meantime is that we're not actually evolving, adapting, and learning. So what that happens is, we're staying stagnant. And technically, there's no such thing as stagnant because time passes. And because time passes, technically, you're actually going behind. You're regressing, not progressing, because other groups aren't staying still. This is the next thing. The reason why we also get confused in life is because we think because we made it to the next stage or because the baton has been passed to the next runner, we automatically think that we're either ahead or we're tied with our next opponent. That's not true. They're also still running their relay race. And because they're still running their relay race, it looks as if they're still ahead. But of course, they're going to be still ahead because you are looking backwards. You're thinking, oh, we're finally past the baton. No. We have to look forward. We have to look completely forward. They're not staying. We're not staying. We have to make sure that we have to evolve because right now we're just regressing. So when we pass that baton, we have to realize other groups are still going. So we have to go with them. So this is what I wanted to say. This is how I wanted to sort of talk in this stream. This I wanted to bring up to you guys. Let me know if you any of you guys want to come up on the stream to have a chat, chop it up. I wasn't going to have a completely long stream today. I just wanted to, air my grievances out with us as a people and say, look, we need to fix up, look sharp. It's just madness. So what I'm seeing right now and what I saw in the statistics, it pissed me off. It pissed me off today. And I thought to myself, you know what? Let me do a live stream on this because there's something else I wanted to talk about. And this is probably another live stream, which I'm going to do as well. Because we talk about this whole mating and dating piece. And I'm even thinking to myself, in order to protect the best of us, do we need to have, and I don't know if this will ever work, but do we need to have a discussion about creating some sort of caste system in which really we should be looking at the elite intelligent of us should be breeding with the most intelligent of us. So instead of what's happening in the dating market right now, in which people are mating and dating with anyone else, and it just seems to be this free-for-all, where, let's be honest, we talk about the Pookies and Ray, we talk about the low-seeded people who seem to get all this, basically the best of us. Is that what we need to do? Is that what we need to focus on? We need to focus on, look, in order to create a super class, we need to create a sexual caste system in which the best of us breed with the best of us. Now, whether that will work, I have no idea. But here's what's happening at the moment, though. If the worst are breeding, guess what's happening? You're seeing the worst of us being represented and recreated and procreated. So this is what needs to happen. Do we need to create a new class system, a caste system? Do we need to create it? Because at the end of the day, what I'm seeing, what's going on right now is clearly showing that something's going astray. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And this is the thing. And it sounds elitist. I'm not gonna lie to you. It does sound elitist. And in India, I'm not gonna lie to you. In India, if you look at how it works, it's quite cruel, to be fair to you, where as a guy, you can only date down in your sort of particular caste. So they have a sort of separation of caste systems, as you know. And what they can do as a guy, I think they can only date down, whereas women can date up. Whereas guys date, I think it's down by 2, and women can date up by 2. So there's something like that. So there's rules to it. There's rules to it all. So there's all rules and structures. And that's the question that I need to pose. And it might be another one for a live stream, that do we need to look at creating a system where at the end of the day, we are making sure the best of us are together? Because that's the only way I can see this is working. The only way I can see this working. Yeah, let's see what it says. This is what we're first black men. I mean, and I didn't want to go to here, but this is what also I was thinking, where if you look at, especially in the UK perspective, a lot of the black people, men and women who seem to be in these higher positions, educated, they do seem to date out quicker than the ones who, unfortunately, let's be honest, the stereotypes. So the stereotypes of us always seem to be together, which creates more stereotypes, funny enough. Whereas let's say the elites, the more intelligent, the more ambitious, the more focused, they seem to always, I won't say always, that's the wrong word to use, but more often than not, they seem to date out. Is it because they have more options? Possibly. Or is it because, and this is another thing, a lot of them don't feel like they fit in with the actual group, partly because of what's happened in the past. I don't know, but it's definitely something I've seen. It's definitely something I'm is part of the conversation, but we need to start it somewhere where it's just like, man, it's crazy. It's going to have discrimination against those who don't share our mindset, who don't want to be black hexes, like having their own neighborhood and sectors of town. And here's the thing, and this is where we're gonna have to be kind of cruel to be kind. Every race of people has the kind of class system. White people have it. If you look at white people now, when it comes to the UK, there's a massive divide between North and South. People from especially when it comes to white people, MPs. If you look at most of the MPs, Boris Johnson, Sir Keir Starmer, they're all based in that same region, either London or the home counties, and they all sound very posh. They all have an elite background. Even Michael Gove, who's born in Scotland, but they all have elite backgrounds. And the white people, especially white working class people who live all across the country, they've always mentioned that there's always been a class warfare where they do not like, the typical Parliament MPs in Westminster because they don't represent those groups. But you know what? This is how white people keep themselves at the top. Again, in the other races, this is how they keep themselves at the top. It's cruel to be kind. Now, do I think it's always the best way of doing it? No, but at the end of the day, I'm open for other options. Is it going to discriminate? It is going to discriminate. But you know what? Life discriminates. Dating discriminates. Education discriminates. Your institutions discriminate. They want the best for the job that they can get based on your educational background, based on your social background, based on your mindset. And they are happy to discriminate against whoever to get the job. Because at the end of the day, when you're running an organization, and this is what it is when it comes to us as people, when you're running an organization, if black people are a company, who do we want to be in charge? Who do we want to be involved? We want the best. Therefore, we're going to have to be discriminatory. It just has to be the case because life is that way. Life isn't fair. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's mad. So again, I'm happy to discuss this to see how this, because we all know it's not going to work in certain aspects, but there needs to be some conversation about how do we change the narrative and how do we change the facts? How do we change this kind of stuff? Because right now, what I'm seeing is just, I just seen from the stats as I've broken it down from starting from education. So it starts even before, let's be honest, the mate and dating game really takes hold. We are already lost. We're already behind the 8 ball, already there. So it's just one of those things where it's just, man, we need another strategy. We need another way to go about it because right now what we're doing, it ain't working. It ain't working. By the way, Ramil made a stream on the same topic. Yeah, to be fair, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of his topics do inspire me because he has a lot of diverse content as my content. I don't like to talk about the same crappy old dating and relationship, two topics, which gets extended to 10 topics about the same shit. So yeah, I agree. But this stream was in the pipeline a little bit beforehand, but he just did it first. But yeah, absolutely. I support this idea in theory. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, in theory, it's one of the things that sound good. Execution is always key. So in theory, this is what needs to happen. But again, India do it. It's not like there's societies that haven't done it. And what I'm going to do is probably look at how they've done it and whether it actually works or not. Because again, if you look at Indians in the UK, they are by far the highest performing racial group on a whole. I know Chinese do better and East Asians do better when it comes to education. But when it comes to earnings, when it comes to the seat of power, when it comes to where they are represented, you look at Parliament MPs, you look at Priti Patel, you look at Rishi Sunak, look at all these people here. They're all of Indian descent. And all of these people come from, if you look at their backgrounds, they got like come from like families of billionaires and they've married into other billionaire families. So they make sure that by hook or by crook, I don't really care. It's just mad. We are going to make sure that we at the top are going to stay at the top by any means. And this is what happens. This is about competing. In order to get to be the best, in order to be on top, they're going to have to be, I won't say collateral damage, that's the wrong word to use, but we're going to have to make sure that we can just win at all costs, whatever that takes, whatever it takes, within reason. But it's, we can't care about being nice. We can't care about being liked. We can't care about being discriminatory. Sometimes we just have to make sure we have to do what's best for the group. And then we have to try and drag up the rest of the group because it's the next thing. Can we drag up the rest of the group? Even if we had this type of class system, we all know that a lot of blacks will still sell out and bring in non-blacks. Oh, man. What can I say? And that's what separates us from a lot of groups where we do have a higher level of IR dating. And when I did that stream about being pro-blacks, I basically made a comment that's particularly if you're a male, if you're pro-black, if you're for black people, when you sort of say I hate white people or this, you hate white men, but you like white women, so you date white women. It's all a mess. It's all a mess when it comes to that sort of stuff. Same with the women. They hate white men, but they hate white women, but they love white men. It's one of those things which we can never stop what people do, but we just have to try and set up a blueprint and a framework. Because I think that's what the key is. If we can set up a blueprint and a framework where we see each of ourselves represented together as marriage couples, partners, whatever it may be, I think that will change the perception and the narrative. Because I think a lot of things are just perception and narratives where we see a lot of our elite people, whether it be in entertainment, sports, and who they're married to. And then we say, well, that's the standard, that's the blueprint that needs to be done in order for us to get accepted into wider society. But if we can create enough of us where we can almost change the narrative where once you are in that sort of space, once you do get up in that sort of area of power, expertise, education, monetary value, that we are still together, we are still looking out for each other, even if we are in the minority or it seems that way, then again, it shows that different type of narrative to younger people. Because at the end of the day, some of these older people, it is what it is. They're going about their lives. We can't do it. But you know what? It may be something which we can at least try and make the younger people who are impressionable. Because again, a lot of the trends that we follow are based on what, the media's telling us, society's looking at and telling us, and that's how things are going off. So maybe we need to try and change the PR. Maybe that's what we need to try and do. Because, it takes a few of us, a handful. Yeah, we don't like order. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes into respect thing. We don't have respect for one another. We don't have respect for elders. We don't have respect for other people. I'm not saying you have to, bend over backwards for everything, but just that initial respect. And once you have that initial respect for things like authority, or a lot of other things take charge. Because when I talk about education, I think a lot of issues that we have is a lot of our kids are unruly and undisciplined and don't have the respect. And once you're unruly and undisciplined, you can't listen, which means you can't focus, which means you're likely to be expelled, which means you're likely to be blackballed, which means you're likely to be stereotyped, which means you're going to get in trouble with the law, which means you can get in trouble with society, which means you're going to fuck up your criminal record, which means you're not going to have the jobs that you think you could have had you just, being quiet, being, I suppose, sitting still, listening. All these kind of things come into it. So, yeah, I agree. Order, respect, it's all the same thing. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. Yeah, man, Indians are no joke, man. This marriage for love doesn't exist, and yeah, I mean, the whole idea. I think the whole idea of love for marriage is kind of has always been a peasant, poor person's thing. I always thought back in the day, if you look at kingdoms, if you look at the empires, marriage was there to consolidate empires, consolidate wealth, peace. A lot of times it's for peace. If you look at how King of England would marry, you look at Henry VIII, all these wives. A lot of it was done because of conquest and for peace. They would have marriages to make sure that kingdoms would have peace over the realm, or it would be wealth consolidation, all that kind of stuff. And that's how a lot of, again, going back to Indians and the caste system, that's how a lot of them see it. It's not just about whether you like each other necessarily, but it's all about, okay, what kind of family marrying into? What does that do? What does that not do? So all these kind of things here, which it just plays into. It plays into. Yeah, man, Vincent, thanks for joining, man. That's cool. That's cool. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, let me know if you guys want to come on the stream and have it, just talk about it, whether you guys are good. I've dropped the link in the chat. If not, what I'll do is I won't keep it too long. I'll probably be finishing a little while once I'm just getting through. But yeah, there needs to be some sort of conversation, a real conversation about how we're going forward with this. Because right now, it's getting out of control and it's getting absolutely there. But dude, how can we uplift when we can't even make families? How can we make business if we can't make functional communities? Listen, I hear it. It's like a chicken and egg right now, isn't it? Where it's like, if we're the people who on that mindset, then we have to do it ourselves. You ask, how can we uplift? It all starts individually here. So it's all a case of, let's be honest. Not everyone's going to be on this life. And I will be a fool to believe that every person who listens to this or every single person is about that. All about convert, preach to people who are going to hear it. And whoever hears this, that's all I need right now. That's all it needs. All it needs is a group of us. Again, I was talking about, we always moan about where, light on numbers in regards to as a group of people over here in the UK, but it's not about numbers per se, it's about strengthening those numbers. So again, if we have enough stronger numbers, regardless of if we're in a minority, then that might be all that it needs. It just needs that starting point, that ballpark. Because again, we all have to start somewhere. Again, before the British Empire was as good and great as it was in the world, guess what? They were nothing. So it all has to start somewhere. It all has to start somewhere. Hey, what's up, Michael? How's it going? For those who are new, please like the stream, please share. Thanks for everyone that's being here. I do appreciate it, but it's hollow reading, man. I'm telling you, man, it's hollow reading, because at the end of the day, you want to see your people doing better, and at the end of the day, you're just gonna know it's gonna be a case of whoever can get it can hear it. Whoever's gonna act on it, let them act on it. It's gonna be a colorist. I mean, possibly. I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother topic all by itself in regards to colorism and all this kind of other stuff. I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother topic, Yeah, Vincent. I was contemplating doing a pre-recorded. So if I didn't do it today, it would have been a pre-recorded video. So I thought, no, I had to do it today just because I couldn't do it without going live. If you wanted today, it would have been a pre-recorded, so it wouldn't have been anything else. So yeah, apologies, man, but that's the way the ball rolls. But there's one piece of information that I've forgotten to discuss, which I kind of wanted to bring up, and because I talked about education, I talked about where we are in regards to represented in society from a occupation standpoint. But one thing I've not actually done is where are we when it comes to handouts and support? Because one of the things which always comes back to is the reason why I'm in this situation, and I kind of agree with this standpoint, is we're always looking for the handout mentality, victimization mentality. I mean, over this last year, if you've been living under a rock, all I've been hearing over the last year is how we're disadvantaged, we're this, we're that, we're victims. And I'm like, listen, there is some truth in some of this stuff. I mean, historically, from a standpoint, I can't argue some of these things, but I'm like, in 2021, are we still complaining about the same old things? And the reason why we're doing it is because we are not in a place that we want to be. And the reason why we're not is not down to victimization, but because it's harder for people to actually discipline themselves. It's harder. The cure is harder than getting support and handouts. And this is what I want to talk about in this little bit now. I want to talk about, I was looking at some other statistics and data as to where are we in regards to receiving support and what is the reason for that support. And is this playing into the reason why we aren't doing well when it comes to other sectors of society? Because at the end of the day, one of the things which has been prevalent throughout society is that if you give people handouts, they will rely on that handouts more than actually shaping up themselves to actually stop being on the handouts. You actually, and it's particularly when it comes to things like welfare, because a lot of times, let's be honest, it rewards bad behavior. And if you reward bad behavior, then people can do that said bad behavior because guess what? You have allowed that bad behavior to continue. Let's see who's in it. Stream Space Cowboy. How's it going?
I did, mate. I did. Bit of a late night stream, but hey, it's better than nothing. Great stream. I love your work. It's always good to see a UK guy coming in heavy with the stats.
And no, yeah, no, I appreciate it because one of the things which is always missing is stats. Hey, I'm like, all right, where's the stats? So it's just my background being like analytical and that kind of stuff. It just I have to have some sort of basis to say here are the numbers, so no one can come out with me with any sort of BS. They're the numbers. If you disagree with the numbers, then I don't know what to tell you. But I appreciate it. But what do you think about where we're at?
I mean, I don't share the optimism. I think it's a foregone conclusion that there is no future for us in these lands here or the USA, And I think that you're obviously a smart guy, logical guy, well-researched guy, and I feel that if we have it bad now, I mean, look what's going to happen in the next generation. Like, this country is going to get poorer, and as a result of that, you're going to see more far-right activity, I assure you. And it's going to be even more toxic and hostile, and we're going to be even more poor, and tribalism is going to affect us even more because we're the most vulnerable and the least unified and the most dependent on the system. When this system and benefit systems falls, which it will, because this country is going to get poorer in the next century, you know, we're I hate to say this, but we're ripe for extermination. And it may sound extreme, but if you look around, I mean, if you look at the percentage of men who are, on the street begging for money, I assure you, we're really overrepresented. I've never seen like an Indian beggar. I've never seen it.
Do you know what? I've never thought about it till now. You said it, and and you're right. I've never seen an Indian beggar. Yeah, but you're right. I've never seen that. And again, like you said, you're a bit nihilistic in regards to you're very pessimistic. You just like just writing everything off, and yeah, I don't share that quite pessimism just because maybe it's the hope that kills, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a bit of a blue pill mindset or something like that. But yeah, no, I definitely do think there's hope when there's people who are able to sort of say, look, this is the right way of going about it. And again, are we going to change the whole complexion of us as a people? No, overnight, no. And will everyone come to this sort of conclusion and come to this rationale that they need to make better choices? Hell no. But I do think that there's enough of us who are starting to wake up to a lot of things that we've possibly been taught, learned beforehand, and at least trying to educate the younger generation. Because if it's at least not for our generation, at least for the younger generation that's coming up. But yeah, in regards to where I see us going in the next sort of half a century or so, with all the things like our educational background, I'm seeing a lot of things. IR dating is another thing as well, where the best of us seem to be dating now, and all these kind of things as well. I do see where you're coming from. I do, but my question, I suppose, to ask you is: do you see any hope, given sort of? Do you see a bit of change of rationale from people in spaces where you probably didn't think was possible, and do you see that growing anytime soon to make a stop or halt to the almost impending annihilation, as you put it?
I will see people, some pockets of successful inner city schools in London where people get good grades and they're able to earn good money. But to be honest, that only sets them up for the IR pipeline down the line. And you said it's not going to change the complexion of us in this society, but physically there will be a changing complexion. You know what I mean. And this is why I'm going to come with a solution. I think particularly the ones of African descent directly, I would strongly advocate getting those passports and those citizenships, all the Caribbean, get that as well, just in case, just to you know, if these African countries do get that together by the end of the century, and I've been there repeatedly because I am a citizen through my mum's side, even though I was born here. You know,
Okay.
these places are changing rapidly. I know people might think it's the bush or whatever, but all that Chinese money and Chinese wealth, well, it's definitely dragging up a lot of African countries as well. And there's incredible economic opportunity there that we can still get into, at a cheaper price. So I advocate all British born ones to really get that dual citizenship via descent, and at least give you, maybe not you an option, but your children will have that out if needs be, because I just don't see anything but poverty for the majority of us in this country. And I'm just being real. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish it wasn't this way, but it's been, what, 60 years, and I can't say that we've improved.
I mean, I was going to ask that question on that because a lot of people from Africa come over here, and I don't know if they all stay. I know they come over here for a time just to normally get education or get what they need to get, and then sometimes go back. But do you see a future right now, regards to our skill set? I think one of the things that I've always noticed is if we go to another country, if we don't have the skill set here, how are we going to survive there? You see what I mean? So
I agree. I agree fully, and this is what I'm trying to say. And I think Falcon Black mentioned this a few videos ago, like last year, is that this is where the frustration bleeds into, and the constant complaining and trying to change the society, and the Black Lives Matter movement here is that, it's a frustration of being trapped, because for the ones who don't have education, don't have inheritance, that's not going to happen, right? Because we don't even own our own homes, right?
yeah, yeah.
You get frustrated. You're like, okay, so I can't go back there because I don't have the money, and I won't be able to enjoy the opportunities because I don't have the money. And I'm here and I'm a third class citizen and I don't have money either. So they're trapped, and it must be very frustrating, and it's horrible to be in that way. But, I hate to say this, and I really, you're trapped. You'll be okay because you're a smart guy, you've got money, you've got a high paid job, you'll be able to jump on board and get those opportunities. You haven't had any kids yet, you're ready to go, bags packed, passport at the ready, right? You could pounce, but you're a minority. The majority of us here is trapped, can't go back, can't live comfortably over there. You're not living comfortably here. You're trapped. And I'm not being harsh. This is not me looking down at nobody. I'm just saying what I believe to be the truth, you know?
No, no, and the thing is, there'll always be that element, and this is why I can't fully disagree with you here. And this is where I brought up the almost, can we create an elite tier, that like the caste system in India? Because again, we all know that there are groups of people who they're going to be up to no good from when they was born. They're up to no good to the day they die, and they're just going to be trapped in whatever situation that they're born in because they don't have no skills, no drive, no ambition. It happens in every country in the world. So only unique individuals go to or migrate to other parts of the world. Therefore, that's why they tend to do better as the immigrant sort of. I think it's called the immigrant hope or something like that. It's called. So I think I agree. The question is, can we create some sort of, again, elite tier here where we can sort of say, okay, because there has been that repatriation that's been going on, hasn't it, a few years back, where I even follow some YouTube channels where even people like Caribbean descent have gone to different kind of countries in Africa, and obviously people from African descent with their African passports, if they have it, they've gone back. So again, there has to be there may have to be a situation where we just have to create I just say different sort of tier of people to say, okay, you guys are just lost. However, for the rest of us, there's an option. There's that hope. There's an option there, and then we can hopefully put good PR out here to show that this is the way. If you was to take these steps, I mean, what do you think about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think that is true. And I was in another UK city for a few years, about 2 years, and I joined an organization like that. It was mainly professionals and stuff like that in that city, and it was good. And a lot of them were born overseas, and they visited back often. So it was kind of like a selective, what's it called, selective pressure. So people who had the money to leave and go back to Africa and still wanted to have the cultural links and stuff,
Yeah,
they kind of self-selected because they wouldn't be able to do that unless they had the money. You know what I mean? And and had cultural events and stuff like that. So they do exist, and they are in your local town, and they may be linked to religion. most of the time I have to, it's true, hey, it's true, most of them will be linked to a religion. That's where most of the cultural events happen. So even though I'm not the most religious, it's a good place to get that cultural link and to network, because that's the only thing that we seem to congregate around is religion, right?
No, absolutely. And I was going to do a live stream on religion, how it's, whether it's, I pose the question, helped or hurt us as a people. But you're right, we do seem to be one of the most religious people on planet Earth. And even when we take on these religions, it's always something different, something else. And I even remember a lot of things used to revolve around at a church event, church function, but it used to be a good place to network with just people. So that's where you can get a lot of bulk of, culture links, connections, etc. like that. So no, I definitely agree. Even if I'm not the most, religious person nowadays, at least it's no, I agree with your point that that's still an avenue, isn't it, where it can go, even though
trying to find a girlfriend there. That's what I did. That was one other reason I went
really?
to try and find a girlfriend. I'll be honest, I'm not gonna lie.
That would be fair. Again, that's how it was back in the day.
Exactly.
Do it now, but no, and this is the thing, isn't it? Where we need to strategize, isn't it? And we need to say, okay, we're here right now. What can we do to evolve ourselves over time? Because I was saying beforehand, every single person before they became a great civilization, they were nothing. Now there was something, and it unfortunately takes a time. And sometimes I was making the relay race analogy that we may just have to pass the baton on to the next runner. It may not be in first position or second position. It may just be tied with the penultimate position, but we ultimately have to try and catch up, and we're gonna have to hand that baton on to the next one. And that's the only thing that we can do, like any other generation or any other group, because they got their race that they're running. So we have to try and run our own race. It may be at a different pace, but the only thing that we can do is just try and pass on the baton in terms of how do we carefully place ourselves in the right positions, whether that's here or whether that's abroad. And I think now, and this is probably a question I'm supposed to ask you, with the technological age, because beforehand things will take a lot, in my mind, harder or longer to reach people. But now with the internet and now with the technological age, do you not see that as a bit of optimism that the message can get across quicker and things can get quicker, go really, really quick, as opposed to beforehand, which is really, really slow?
Coders and technologically trained people to jump on that money wave. And I think it's just going to cause a widening of the gap. I think that the technology age will be beneficial for Caribbean and Africa, to be honest, because that means that they're more likely to catch up and get information that would be hidden away, and a greater percentage of the population, number-wise, will be au fait with what's going on in the rest of the world and educationally. So I think that hello.
Oh, yep, I'm here. Are
Yeah,
you?
so that's what I think the technological age was not going to help us here in the West because we're not trained in it. But for the people in the Silicon Valley of Africa, in Kenya, Nairobi, most of them are going to get technologically trained at a young age and exposed to things that previously were hidden from them or not accessible, and now it is. And as I said before, don't be surprised in the next 80 years, 70 years, 60 years, 50 years, that it's like a stock that's a growth stock. I think most of these countries are going to grow rapidly, and if you look at their growth rates, not population but economically, their GDP is going up 7, 8, 9% per year. Ghana, Ethiopia in particular, they're going up.
Yeah,
and it's affordable, and it's more connected than ever before due to the technology.
Absolutely. And this is where my optimism lies as well, where because of that's the case, and because there's more exposure, because of the whole technological boom and the rise of these countries, which beforehand people didn't, people had these preconceived notions, but you can see with the PR and the technological age and how and the globalization of the world, how there's an opportunity for a lot of us really in order to improve our situation. May not be, again, I suppose, to your point here, but it definitely can be somewhere abroad, elsewhere, where it sounds like it could be a better fit for a lot of us. And I think the only thing is, do enough of us want to take that jump? Because that is a huge commitment. One thing that we talk about, we say moving countries, but for a lot of us, let's be honest, a lot of us culturally are British, a lot of us culturally are westernized. So it's not just about saying you can have an opportunity in terms of financial, but there's a massive, massive still, I want to say, for a lot of us, culture shock, which is going to require a lot of adjustment, which I don't think a lot of us are ready for.
And I agree, but I'm just going to fight by saying that, look at the Chinese. They're going to all these different countries. They're ethnic minorities. They're not physically strong, but they still go out there and they still set up businesses. They're still going out there and trying to get that money, get that land. It's a totally different culture, different language, different everything. And obviously we all know what happened in the 16th, 17th century.
Yep.
These guys, they went wild, and they didn't let fear stop them. So for us to go back or to at least visit more or at least try to establish something in countries where we look like the people, and some of us know the language of these countries as well, that gives us a head start, and we have a stronger currency, so we've got a lot of things in our favor to at least give it a try, that's what I feel. And that's why I go from that. Yeah, I mean,
No.
I don't think fear should stop us. We've got a lot of things going in our favor to make it happen there. And and you got dudes, that guy Filoshko or something. He used to go to Russia. The
Oh,
the American guy who went to Russia.
Phil.
That's the guy, yeah. First
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
world or something.
I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah.
dude's going to Eastern Europe just to go and get women. I mean, if he was putting his life on the line for something so minor, we could do this.
But you know
But yeah.
That's kind of unfortunately what I was gonna. You mentioned a point which that's kind of the BS which would mostly attract guys moving, as opposed to, let's be honest, real shit like finances, money, and setting up your family for future generations and making sure that you can become the next, I don't know, Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or something like. You know what I mean? For me, if I was to go to someone and say, you know what, there's fine women over here, I bet I get more people on my side to move, as opposed to things about, you know what, we're behind on in the education, behind the economics, behind here. However, if we can sort ourselves out in another situation, which may be more beneficial for us, which may have a stronger starting point, I don't know what it is. Do you see what I'm saying? How we seem to go for bullshit, but we don't seem to go for real shit. I don't know. Is that just me?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Most of the time when back in secondary school, you said the same thing. A lot of these guys, the Indians were studying like crazy to go and do engineering or medicine or something, and then the Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, they were working in their dad's shop or something on the weekend to try and get money, thinking about getting money, thinking about this, that, and the other. A lot of the white lads, Irish working class ones, were working as a mechanic or something, or building, helping their dads in the building stores or doing building in the summer holidays, and a lot of us, we were just thinking about how to get gold behind the shed,
Yeah.
And that's the sad reality. Our priorities all messed up, and this goes to what you're saying. Like, I'll be honest, and this is not me being a nihilist. A lot of us ain't gonna make it, and I'm not the only one saying this. There's a couple of Americans who have said this. I'm not gonna say the YouTubers' names, but there's tons of decent ones out there. And they're like, it's a wrap. A lot of us ain't gonna make it. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way, is that we can't save everyone. We can't. And maybe it's just for a few of us to just see what we see, plan accordingly, hope our children don't get caught up in the madness, and just accept that especially here, I'm saying 90% just ain't gonna make it. I'm gonna say ain't gonna make. I'm serious. I just don't see it.
That's long. That's big.
I just don't see how else it could go that way, because bear in mind, this is 60 years, all the complaining, all the government action, everything, 60, 70 years now down the line, and here we are today, and nothing's changed.
And a lot of it, I think, is because we're doing the same thing over and over again. And the classic analogy is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is what? Insanity. And a lot of times it's because this is why I'm seeing a bit of change in mindset from, we'll say, I see a lot of black conservatives now who are trying to shift the mindset in the mainstream, and they're getting a lot of pushback. And this is the next thing what happens, because we're getting a lot. What happens is you'll find is you get a lot of pushback from the narrative of trying to say, look, let's try and change our strategy. Let's try and not blame everyone else for some of the things that we can control. Yes, there are things which we can blame on other people. I will not disagree with you. However, 2021, we've been here 60 years. We're still complaining about the same things. We're still doing the same things with the exact same results, which is nowhere fast. So the question is, so what we need right now is just a change and shift. So it's just crazy, just seeing it. And I get what you're saying, 90%, but whoa, I don't know. Maybe that 10% can swing it. Maybe that's the case. Because again, I'm seeing a change. Maybe not as swift as I want it to do, but I'm seeing that change. But we're doing the same thing for the last 60 years. It's because I don't know. Maybe it's easy for us to just do the same thing and just rest in our laurels as opposed to actually making a change that's required, because it's going to be hard work. And that's the thing that we seem to be quite afraid of at sometimes, that hard work. It's just easier doing what we're doing now and just complaining from the sidelines and asking someone to try and help us out. And the results is clear. We're still where we're at the bottom.
Yeah. And you're at the start of the talk, you show clearly that we're dead last. And I've actually lost a girlfriend actually recently because of this topic, because I wasn't overly big on spirituality and religion, and I'm very focused on overtime and saving and cryptocurrencies and stocks and things like that. And she just didn't care, and her family didn't care about this stuff. And I was like, okay, fine. I can't bring another person into poverty. I worked hard to try and get out of poverty, and I'm doing well at that. I just can't do the struggle love thing. I can't do it. I won't do it. So there we go.
No, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, but yeah, I would have expected that kind of conversation from a woman more than a guy, to be fair to you. For what I've been hearing in regards to not wanting that struggle of, but no, 100% agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have someone who's not on your same wavelength, unfortunately, what's going to happen is they're likely to drag you down, as opposed to sometimes you picking them up. So you just have to, let go of the dead weight. And that goes not just for girlfriends or whatever, but sometimes family members, friends. A lot of times you think yourself, nah, I can try and convert, I can try and help them. What inevitably happens is it becomes an anchor and it just weighs you down because you made up to go at the speed that you want to go at, or things just ain't gonna click. So yeah, I see what you're saying, man. It definitely is. It's a lonely road, man. It's a lonely road. But nah.
Well, I'm gonna hand it over to another caller and get onto the line. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and yeah, I mean, even with a nihilist like me, you give me some hope.
Well, and that's it. That's it, man. I'll say this again, and I'll say it again. Every great civilization, if you look through history of time, they're like the Brits. The Brits, before they became the British Empire, they were known as like a slave nation. The Romans conquered them, and after that, they took wings and hit flight. So we talk about slavery, we talk about colonization. Listen, we're not the only ones who've been colonized in our lives, and it doesn't mean that has to be the be all end all of life, man. Other groups and other civilizations have caught wings on it. So yeah, that's kind of where my narrative is. Forget everything that we've heard. Forget what we've been taught. Listen, we may not have the greatest history, but we can still change the future. We can make history in the present. So I saw what it is. But no, I appreciate you coming on here, Space Cowboy. I ain't gonna lie to you. I do appreciate it. So I've got, to be fair, I'm gonna do a stream about religion. So that's one of the topics which I do want to do a conversation on. So by all means, look out for that stream, because I do want to hear your take on that sort of spirituality sort of stuff and where your thoughts are, because it's interesting to say the least. So yeah, I'm gonna do a live stream.
All right, peace.
Cool. Later. What does struggle love mean? Come on, Vincent, you should know what struggle love means. You've been in these spaces. You don't know what struggle love means. You follow Cynthia G. I don't know what struggle love means. Anyway, struggle love means it's regards to when you have basically poverty, struggle relationships, which ain't going anywhere, but it's usually tied to an economic situation where it's unfavorable for both parties, really, where usually the black guy's not earning, it's usually in this context, the black guy's not earning a lot of money, and then it's a case of they want a woman and they're just dragging them all down. It's just struggle all over. It's not the man who's about something getting a woman. It's always about typically the guys who aren't about shit, ain't shit, ain't got a pot to piss in, and they're willing to throw it out of. That's the kind of thing that talks about struggle of. Or you see it in a lot of movies and romantic rom-coms where they start off with just, they're in a bad neighborhood, they're struggling, working to find ends meet, and then it all works out because of such and such. Yeah, that's what struggle of is. I love Sinji. Do you know what? I know I know that's the LOL there, but I actually believe you, Fiona. I actually believe you like Sinji. I actually do. But if it helps, Vincent used to like Sinji, so you have a mutual friend in that department. I don't know how much he likes her anymore, but I know he used to be heavy on Sinji. So, oh man, cool. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the stream right now. I think it's 12 o'clock UK time. So for all those who are listening outside the UK, it's getting a bit late. Your boy's got work in the morning. Your boy still works. You know how it is. No time off, no rest for the wicked. But thanks to everyone for tuning in again. Like I was saying, we do need to strategize. We do need to think differently. We need to act differently. Again, is it going to change for the whole entire population of us as Black people in the UK? No, I don't anticipate it will be. But I hope that enough of us can be the change that we need to be. Again, a lot of it's down to good PR and good system. So again, that's kind of my message today. I brought the facts with you guys. This is where we are currently speaking, but that doesn't mean where we are going to be in the next few years. We can change it as long as we can accept where we are, understand where we're going wrong, and then make the change that we needed to set things straight. Because while we've got air in our lungs and breath in our body, we can still make the change. So thanks everyone for listening. Vincent, you made a comment. When am I next going to go live? I'll be honest with you, the next date I'm going to go live is probably later on this week. I think I've got this stream for like Saturday or Sunday, you know, the next live stream. The next live stream I'm going to be doing is talk about religion. So it's definitely going to be that topic. I've sort of put it off a little bit, but I think I'm going to go live either, what today is? Wednesday. It might be Saturday. It'll probably be Sunday, but it'll be later on the week, most likely the weekend. So that's when I'm next going to go live. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Please make sure you like the stream, subscribe if you're new, share the stream with everyone who you know. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, good night to everyone, and I'm out.